I drive the same route home every single night without the slightest deviation. The exact same path carved into my muscle memory after 3 years of doing this job. From the squat, fluorescent-lit tech support office buried at the far end of the industrial park where the parking lot always smells faintly of burnt rubber and spilled motor oil, to my one-bedroom apartment on the quiet western fringe of town, it takes precisely 45 minutes door to door, assuming the lights cooperate and no construction crews decide to close a lane without warning. The first 15 minutes are the familiar city grid, sodium vapor street lamps buzzing overhead like dying insects, casting that flat, jaundiced orange light across cracked sidewalks and shuttered storefronts. Stoplights cycling through their lonely sequences for almost no one at this hour. The occasional late-night delivery van sliding past with its hazards blinking slow and rhythmic, like someone tapping a finger on a table in impatience. Then the transition arrives almost imperceptibly, the final major intersection where the last red light hangs suspended for what feels like forever. The faded green highway sign catching my headlights and glowing briefly before I pass beneath it, and suddenly the landscape opens wide. 2 lanes each direction, no concrete median, just black fields rolling out endlessly on both sides, broken only by the occasional skeletal billboard frame that hasn't held advertising copy since before I moved here, and the rare cluster of rusted grain silos leaning like tired sentinels against the horizon. Streetlights grow sparser, then vanish entirely, and from that point forward it is only my high beams slicing a narrow white corridor through the darkness, the dashed center line flickering past in hypnotic rhythm, the low hum of tires on pavement the only constant sound. I know this road intimately, the way you know the exact placement of furniture in a dark room you've lived in for years, every subtle dip where the asphalt has settled unevenly after the old mill ruins on the right, every precise spot where deer sometimes step out from the shoulder and freeze in the glare with wide, glassy eyes, every 3-minute window where the FM radio signal collapses into pure white noise static no matter which station you tune to. It is routine, it is predictable. It is the kind of sameness that lets your mind drift safely, untethered, without fear of surprise, until that one night when the sameness itself became the trap. The rain had ended around 7 that evening, but the road surface stayed slick and glossy for hours afterward, reflecting my headlights in long, oily smears that made the pavement look like black liquid under the tires. Inside the car, the air was warm, slightly thick and stale, carrying the faint, bitter aftertaste of the coffee I'd nursed all afternoon in the travel mug still sitting in the center console, and the synthetic pine smell from the little tree-shaped air freshener that had faded to almost nothing months earlier, but which I had never bothered to remove. It still dangled from the rearview mirror, swaying gently with every small bump. My eyes were gritty and burning from 8 straight hours of staring at monitors, diagnosing the same printer connectivity problems, and walking customers through password resets they should have known how to do themselves. My shoulders carried that deep, familiar ache from leaning forward over the desk, the muscles knotted in protest. I rolled my neck slowly to the left, then to the right, hearing the small, dry pops of vertebrae shifting back into alignment. I reached over with my right hand and turned the temperature dial up one more notch. The vents responded with a soft sigh of warm air brushing across my face and chest, like someone exhaling slowly against my skin. The dashboard clock glowed pale green in the dim cabin. 10:42 p.m. Another 25 minutes, maybe 23 if the lights were kind, and I would be pulling into my usual parking spot under the flickering sodium lamp, climbing the stairs to the 3rd floor, unlocking the door, feeding the cat who would already be waiting by the bowl with that impatient tail flick, then finally collapsing face first into the pillow with the weight of the day sliding off me like water. Routine. Safe. I merged onto the long straightaway that locals quietly refer to as the Black Stretch, not because of any official name, but because there is literally nothing out there for miles except fallow soy fields lying dark and dormant under winter stars, and the occasional rusted metal skeleton of a billboard that lost its advertiser 2 decades ago and now stands like a forgotten monument to nothing. That's when I first became aware of the headlights in the rearview mirror. 2 small, distant white pinpricks that could have been mistaken for stars if they hadn't been moving steadily along the same line as the road. They hung far back at first, perhaps half a mile or more, maintaining a constant interval that felt neither threatening nor friendly, just present. I didn't register any immediate danger. People drive at night, people travel the same highway in the same direction, but as the odometer ticked past another mile marker, those lights had closed the gap noticeably, not in a sudden aggressive lunge, but in a smooth, measured way that made the distance feel deliberate rather than accidental. I glanced at the mirror again, longer this time. Still the same precise separation, but tighter now, too controlled, too intentional. A small, cold knot formed low in my stomach, the kind of sensation you get when you realize you left the front door unlocked all day. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe they had set their cruise control to match mine without thinking. Maybe they were tired and fixated on my taillights instead of the road ahead. But the question refused to leave. Why aren't they passing?
The left lane is completely empty for as far as the eye can see in either direction. No oncoming traffic, no reason whatsoever to hang back in the right lane, hugging the outer edge of my taillight glow, never drifting fully into the blind spot, never falling far enough behind to disappear into the darkness. They stayed exactly where they were, perfectly positioned, as though someone had drawn an invisible tether between our two vehicles and set the tension just right. I eased my foot down on the accelerator a little harder, 75 miles per hour, then 78. The engine note climbed, a familiar four-cylinder whine rising beneath the steady hiss of tires on wet asphalt. The headlights in the mirror rose in perfect synchronization, no perceptible lag, no sudden surge forward, just effortless mirroring of my speed. My pulse shifted from its quiet background rhythm to something sharper, quicker, thudding steadily in the side of my neck and echoing faintly in my ears. I loosened my grip on the steering wheel for a second, then tightened it again, feeling the leather creak under my palms. Breathe, I told myself silently. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Just another car sharing the same stretch of highway. Nothing personal, nothing directed at me. Then the phone buzzed sharply on the passenger seat, vibrating hard enough against the fabric upholstery that I felt it through the seat cushion. The screen lit up cold blue-white in the otherwise dim cabin, illuminating the dashboard controls and the half-empty coffee mug in stark relief. Unknown caller. I let it ring out, watching the name flash until the call dropped to voicemail. 10 seconds of heavy silence followed, thick enough to taste. Then it buzzed again, same number. I ignored it a second time. A third ring came almost immediately, insistent, almost angry. Before the ringing could finish, a text message slid onto the lock screen. "Alex, slow down. We need to talk." My hands went instantly cold on the wheel, fingers numb, the steering wheel slippery with sweat. The sedan still there, closer now. No face, no silhouette, only light and shadow. I accelerated harder, 90 miles per hour, matched instantly. Another text, "You're driving too fast. Pull over, it's safer." My breathing shallow, panic tightening its grip. Then another, "I see your taillights, red, flickering when you brake." I hadn't braked once. The bridge coming fast, the diner lights ahead like a promise. Text after text piling in. "Alex, I know where you live, apartment 4B. That detail shattered me. I fled the highway, screamed into the diner. Safety, light, people. But the parking lot was empty. The messages gone. The proof erased, like it had never happened. I drove home shaking, locked every door, left every light on. But the feeling never left. That sense of being followed, of being watched. And now, every time the road is empty and silent, my phone vibrates once in my pocket. No message, no sound,
just a reminder that something out there still knows my name, and I still don't know if the car was ever really there, or if the messages came from a place inside me that had been waiting patiently for the right stretch of dark, empty road to finally speak.
I've worked at the same small IT firm for 4 years and 3 months. Long enough for the office to stop feeling like a place and start feeling like a layer of skin, something you wear every day without thinking, until it starts to itch in places you can't reach. The building sits on the edge of the industrial zone, a converted warehouse surrounded by chain-link fences and cracked asphalt. Inside, the ceilings are high, silver ventilation ducts winding across them like exposed veins. Rows of identical gray desks stretch under endless fluorescent lights that never truly turn off. Even when the motion sensors think the room is empty, some corner always stays dimly lit, buzzing softly, like the building itself refuses to sleep. My desk is in the far back corner, near the only window that opens at all, overlooking a parking lot where security lights flicker at night, their orange glow pooling in rainwater like tired eyes struggling to stay open. 2 desks over used to belong to Daniel. Daniel was background, the kind of person who becomes part of the environment without ever demanding attention. He arrived every morning at exactly 8:55, left at 5:05, wore the same faded navy polo every Friday. His monitor brightness was always turned so low it looked like it was asleep, and a half-empty water bottle sat on his desk every day, condensation clinging to the plastic like tears that never quite fell. We barely spoke. A morning, a thanks, a quiet request to look at a printer that refused to cooperate. He was reliable, predictable, comforting in the way repetition can be comforting. Until one Tuesday in late October, when his chair was empty. No email, no Slack status, no warning. Just his dark monitor, crooked keyboard, and that same water bottle slowly drying into pale rings on the desk. HR said family emergency, then indefinite leave. No one asked questions. In tech, people disappear all the time. By Friday, I took his stapler. Mine had finally broken, and his was still there. Heavy, metal, solid. Borrowing it felt harmless. That night, working late under flickering lights, I heard footsteps. Soft, hesitant. Not the night guard, not the cleaning crew. They stopped just outside our section. When I called out, there was only silence. Monday morning, Daniel's desk was unchanged, except the stapler was missing. Because I had it now. At 11:37 a.m., my Slack pinged. A direct message. From Daniel. "Hey Alex, you still have my stapler?" My stomach dropped. I replied instantly asking if he was back. No answer. His online status flickered green, then went gray. No remote logins, no system anomalies. No explanation. That night, working late again, my screen glitched. For less than half a second, Daniel's face filled my monitor, too close, eyes wide, mouth slightly open like he was about to warn me about something urgent. Then, it was gone. I rebooted everything, found nothing. The footsteps came back Wednesday night, this time closer. A tap on the back of my chair. A presence I could feel but not see. When I turned, nothing. Just empty desks and buzzing lights. Thursday morning, something waited for me on Daniel's desk. A printed screenshot of the Slack message, highlighted. No print logs, no record. That night, I stayed late on purpose. I turned off my lamp. I waited. At 11:42, the footsteps came from Daniel's desk. They stopped behind me. I felt heat, smelled old coffee and toner,
And then a voice right against my ear. "You kept my stapler."
2 weeks later, HR finally told us Daniel had died. Heart attack, alone in his apartment, found days later. They cleared his desk on Friday. When I arrived, everything was packed into a cardboard box, except one thing: my stapler, placed neatly on top. I took it back to my drawer. I still use it every day. The click is familiar now, almost comforting. But sometimes, when the office is quiet, when the lights buzz and refuse to shut off, I hear footsteps, not in the hallway, behind my chair. They stop and wait, like he's checking my work, like he's making sure I didn't throw it away. And the worst part is this: I still don't know if the footsteps are real, or if they're just the sound of guilt, echoing forever in a place that never truly goes dark.
As I walked past the security office, my phone buzzed once in my pocket. Just one short vibration, no sound. I stopped without realizing I'd done it. People flowed around me, shopping bags brushing my arm, laughter echoing off polished tile. I pulled my phone out slowly, already knowing what I would see. The screen was black. No notification, no missed call, nothing. I slipped it back into my pocket and forced myself to keep walking. I didn't look back. That night, I dreamed of the mall. Not the new one, Riverside. It was exactly as it had been during the night shift. Lights dimmed, stores shuttered, shadows pooled thick and heavy in the corners. I was standing in the center court, alone, the fountain dry and cracked beneath my feet. Somewhere behind me, I could hear breathing, slow, wet, patient. I tried to turn around, but my body wouldn't move. The breathing grew closer until it was right at my ear. I woke up gasping, my sheets damp with sweat. At the foot of my bed, my phone vibrated once. I didn't touch it. I didn't even look at it. I lay there, staring at the dark ceiling, counting my breaths until morning light crept in through the blinds. When I finally checked the phone, there was still nothing. No record, no trace. That was when I realized it wasn't trying to contact me. It was checking on me. Over the next few days, small things began to change. My apartment felt colder, no matter how high I set the thermostat. Sounds lingered longer than they should. Footsteps from upstairs, echoing even after they stopped. The hum of the fridge stretching into a low, almost organic drone. Sometimes, when I passed reflective surfaces, mirrors, windows, the black screen of my TV, I thought I saw movement just behind me, a shape, too tall, too thin, gone the moment I turned. I stopped sleeping at night. At exactly 2:17 a.m. every night, my phone vibrated once. I tried to fight it. White noise, sleeping pills, lights on, curtains open. Nothing worked. The vibration always came. Sometimes, after it happened, I could swear I heard faint mall music drifting through my apartment, tinny and warped, like it was coming from a broken speaker far away. Old songs, holiday music, the kind that loops endlessly. One night, I gave in. When the phone vibrated, I picked it up immediately. The screen lit up. A notification banner slid down slowly, like it was taking its time. Riverside Security System. Camera. Alert. Motion detected.
My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. I hadn't worked there in months. I didn't have access anymore. I tapped the notification. The screen loaded. Grainy black and white footage filled the display. Camera 17. The fountain. I knew it instantly. The angle was wrong, lower than before, closer to the ground, but unmistakable. The basin was no longer dry. Dark liquid pooled at the bottom, rippling gently as if something beneath the surface was breathing. The timestamp read 2:17 a.m. Something moved at the edge of the frame. Slowly, deliberately. A long arm slid into view, skin pale and slick, fingers too long, bending the wrong way. It pressed against the marble edge, leaving a wet handprint. Then another, then another. The thing pulled itself up with careful precision, like it was conserving energy. The camera tilted upward. It was standing now, tall, unnaturally thin, its head lolled to one side, neck stretched like it couldn't quite support the weight. Its face was blurred, but the eyes burned white, fixed directly on the camera. Fixed on me. The screen went black. My phone vibrated once more in my hand, longer this time, like a satisfied sigh.
I didn't scream. I didn't run. I just sat there on the edge of my bed, phone clutched in my fist, listening. Because I could hear breathing. Not from the phone, from my apartment. It came from the hallway outside my bedroom, slow, wet, labored, each breath scraping through something narrow and damaged. The sound stopped when I held my own breath, started again when I exhaled, closer now, right outside the door. The doorknob didn't turn. It didn't have to. The lights in my apartment flickered once, twice, then settled into a dim, sickly glow. My TV turned on by itself, static hissing softly. For just a moment, through the snow, I thought I saw the mall corridor, long and empty, stretching endlessly forward. My phone buzzed again, a message this time. Shift starts at 10 p.m. You're late. The breathing was right on the other side of the door now. I don't live there anymore. I don't stay in one place for long. I never sleep past midnight. I never answer unknown notifications. But every night at 2:17 a.m., no matter where I am, my phone vibrates once. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I see the security monitors again. 32 empty feeds, one office light flickering on and off, waiting. Because the mall never needed me to watch it. It was watching through me, and it still knows when I'm awake.
I moved into the apartment on the 4th floor of the old brick building on Navoy Street in late August because everything about it felt practical. The rent was low enough that I wouldn't have to take extra shifts. The location was central, close to work, close to public transport, close to people without being crowded. And the landlord swore it had been fully renovated, a phrase he repeated 3 times during the viewing, like it was a charm against bad luck. The building itself dated back to the 1970s, Soviet construction, thick concrete walls that trapped sound, high ceilings that made every room feel hollow, narrow windows with metal frames that rattled when the wind pushed in from the mountains.
The stairwell smelled permanently of boiled cabbage and stale cigarette smoke, even though smoking had been banned years ago. The elevator worked when it felt like it, which meant most days I climbed the stairs, counting steps without thinking about it, listening to my shoes echo off worn marble. Apartment 407 was small but clean. One bedroom, a combined kitchen-living room, a bathroom with cracked white tiles, and a shower that dripped even after being shut tight. Beige walls, fresh paint, but the kind of color that looked alive only in daylight. At night, it dulled into something tired and gray. The previous tenant had left things behind: a cheap wooden bookshelf with warped shelves, a curtain rod without curtains, and a mirror in the hallway, tall, narrow, framed in thin metal. There was a hairline crack running diagonally across it. I noticed it, but it didn't register as important. That first night, I barely slept. Not because it was loud, but because it wasn't. The building had a way of amplifying small sounds: the drip in the bathroom, the refrigerator's low hum, the occasional creak from somewhere above me that never quite sounded like footsteps. At 3:17 a.m., I woke up certain someone was standing in my bedroom doorway. I sat up fast, heart racing. The doorway was empty. Still, I left the lamp on until morning. The next day, the mirror crack was longer. I told myself I'd just missed it before.
Weeks passed. The apartment began to feel settled. Old places do that. You learn their rhythms. Their noises stop being threats and start being background. Or so I thought. Then the bookshelf started changing. One evening I came home and found a single book pulled halfway out, The Master and Margarita. I hadn't touched it in months. I pushed it back. The next day, another book, Notes from Underground, same position, halfway out, spine facing the room. I reorganized the shelf, alphabetical, precise, clean. The next morning, every book was facing backward. That was when I started locking the bedroom door at night. The mirror worsened too. The crack spread slowly, branching like veins under skin. By the end of the second month, it looked like shattered glass held together by stubbornness alone. I avoided looking at it, but sometimes, in passing, I caught movement in the reflection, something behind me, gone when I turned. Then came the footsteps. They started softly, between 3:30 and 4 a.m., always the same time, slow, deliberate pacing in the living room, circling, pausing, then stopping outside my bedroom door. I could see the shadow under the crack, tall, thin, unmoving. The refrigerator opened once, closed. The kitchen light turned on by itself. I started recording. On the 8th night, the footage showed the door handle turning, the locked door opening 4 inches, a shape standing just outside the frame for 11 minutes, then leaving. I showed it to a friend. He told me to leave. I didn't. I changed the lock. The key began to move on its own, found on the counter, on the bookshelf, once inside the fridge, then in the mirror.
I installed cameras. That's when I saw everything. The towel sliding off the mirror on its own, the mattress dipping as if someone sat beside me, milk pouring into a glass that didn't exist, footsteps circling my sleeping body.
I tried leaving. The apartment unpacked my bags. I cried. I screamed. I begged. Nothing answered. Now I live here. The footsteps no longer hide. The shape doesn't stay behind the door anymore. It walks openly. It sits. It watches. It waits. Sometimes in the mirror I see myself looking back, older, thinner, like the apartment is slowly adjusting me to fit. Every night at 3:47 a.m., the door opens. The shape stands there, and I understand now. It doesn't want me gone. It wants me to stay long enough to belong.